You're ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, I'm pleased to welcome Dr.
Yeah. It's
Zack
crazy, I
Hinckley.
know.
Every time.
Yeah.
Today, Dr. Hinckley was a student at Oneonta from August 2013 to June 2015, majored in history and minored in anthropology. He participated in the Pine Lake Archaeological Field School in 2015, then embarked on several adventures, which included being a shovel bum for multiple years. And I recall you coming back to visit us in 2017 at the field
Yeah.
school. And I can't remember your exact words, but I think they were along the lines of, "I'm tired of living out of my car."
Yes, very much
Sure,
so.
that's but all of his adventures eventually led him to University of Aberdeen, where he completed his master's and PhD. He's currently a consultant supervisor, do I have that right, for Rubicon Archaeology?
Yeah.
And the department, we're all very proud of him, and we're super excited to have him speak with us today. So welcome to Zack.
So you just want me to share, yeah? Is that what? Yeah. I don't do this very much anymore, so.
Great.
Is that good? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, as Renee said, my name's Zack Hinckley. I graduated class of 2015, history major, minor in anthropology. Currently live in Scotland. I work as an archaeological consultant / field supervisor when I'm needed in the fields, but I'm mostly doing kind of behind the scenes kind of stuff now. I'll get a bit more into that, but I'll kind of go through before Oneonta, kind of how I found Oneonta, how Oneonta's kind of impacted my career, and kind of just go through the steps of kind of how I've gotten to where I am and how Oneonta's kind of, been a big impact on it. So before Oneonta, I was originally a marine bio major at University of New Haven, and I was terrible at it. Like I basically flunked out, lost my scholarship. When I was 18, I was kind of just like, I got my scuba license when I was 16, and all I wanted to do was just kind of scuba dive and take pictures of fish. But unfortunately, that's not what marine biology is, and I did terrible in chemistry and all that kind of stuff. So after losing the scholarship, I kind of was like, okay, like I kind of need to go home, figure things out, find a new career path kind of stuff. So I took about like 6 months off, worked at the Home Depot full time for a year and a half, probably. But after 6 months, I decided I want to go back to school. So then I decided to just kind of take some classes at Hudson Valley Community College. And I was taking kind of a mix of biology still, but mostly history. And I started to really kind of like history, and I was doing really well in the classes. And so, yeah, after about a year there, I got my associate's degree. And then I was kind of wanting to go back to school and get a bachelor's. And so, yeah, then I transferred to Oneonta in 2013. And that's when I kind of decided I wanted to be a history major at the time. The first year I was there, I took mostly medieval classes, so all of April Harper's classes, like I don't know if they still do them anymore, but like early Middle Ages, Central, Late, etc. And I kind of just fell in love with that kind of stuff. Like really enjoyed early medieval Europe, specifically Britain and Ireland. And yeah, so I was just kind of that was kind of pointing me in a way, I think, telling me this is kind of somewhat what I need to do. But then after the first year, because my credits were all screwed up because I was going to because I did so poorly at New Haven, I needed credits all over the place. I decided to take a few anthropology classes. So I took kind of intro to cultural anthropology, intro to bioanthropology online. And I really enjoyed the classes. So I was like, okay, like maybe I'll try to minor and take more the next year. So going into my final year at Oneonta, I took a few anthropology classes. Specifically, one I remember is Incas and Their Ancestors by Cindy Klink. And that class had a lot to do in some of the kind of the sessions about material culture. And I remember having to do a lot of reading about kind of like all the different types of pottery, like the Moche, Nazca, Incan, like all that kind of stuff. And that I really enjoyed that, the kind of organization of it all. Uh, and yeah, so I just started to really kind of enjoy the idea of what archaeology is. And then in 2015, I graduated, but it was like I still needed 6 credits. So it was kind of like I graduated, but I still needed to do a little bit more. And it just happened to be one of the years that Pine Lake was happening. And it was exactly 6 credits. I don't know if it is anymore, but it was. And yeah, so I was like, all right, yeah, give it a shot, see what it's like, you know. And when I got there, I just kind of immediately fell in love with archaeology. So it was, yeah, my first experience excavating. It was always kind of one of those things that I was always interested in it. But just the idea of just digging dirt and just finding stuff is kind of why you do archaeology. But I really enjoyed the idea of it, that it wasn't just, you know, digging a hole and ripping stuff out of the ground. It was kind of going through layers and stratigraphy, digging in order, like finding artifacts. And I think the first thing I found at the field school was like a sandstone adze, so like the kind of like axe kind of thing. And I think I was just kind of hooked with uh, archaeology at that point. Uh, I mean, the field school, again, like the digging is huge for kind of like, you know, if you want to do this as a career going forward. But the post excavation stuff at the field school as well was really significant going forward. So because at Pine Lake, it's just there's tons of lithics and stuff like that found. So there's large assemblages, there's lots of sorting, identifying, organizing, looking at stuff under microscopes. But surprisingly, the one thing that kind of really helped me in my career, which I really didn't expect, was the soil flotation. Uh, just sitting out back and doing it with the buckets, because you'd be surprised how many people don't have that experience later on in their career. It's basically just putting dirt in a bucket, getting the charcoal out of it, processing it, getting it ready for dating. But it gave me jobs. Like I actually worked at Aberdeen for a bit while I was doing my PhD, making money off on the side doing that. So it definitely kind of, you know, helps. Uh, yeah. So then after the field school, I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to give archaeology a chance as a career, kind of see if I can do anything with it. And basically, a month after, I got accepted for a job for a company that was working in New York. So then I went into CRM, so kind of a cultural resource management. Yeah, so I was working for this company in New York for a bit, and then I was working with a guy who started the job kind of a couple months in, and he was telling me how he kind of just does like a freelance thing, how he just jumps from like company to company and travels and all that kind of stuff. And at that time, I was kind of like, all right, yeah. So I kind of decided to kind of start jumping from company to company, and I was able to work everywhere. Like, I mean, I did big projects in North Dakota. Like, I lived in Washington and Oregon for a bit, Nevada, Arizona, etc. Like, it can go on. Uh, it was great. I'm too old for it now, but it was great when you're that young at that point. Because like it's really hard to kind of string jobs like back to back to back. So I ended up having like a little Volkswagen GTI, and I literally made it like a makeshift bed in the back of it. It would like sleep in like rest stops and Walmarts and stuff like that. So it's not, it's good, but it's, you know, it's a bit of work. But then after that kind of period of time, I started thinking, all right, I want to go back to school. You know, like I want to kind of move forward with it a bit. Uh, so yeah, so I decided I wanted to go back to school for a master's. I applied to a couple schools in the US, got into a couple of them. Applied to a couple in the UK, got into a couple of them. But then I kind of was reading about the University of Aberdeen, and this was kind of a what they have a specific program in like northern archaeology. So I decided I'm just going to do that, and I was only going to go for a year for the masters, just to kind of get a bit higher up, like in CRM, so I didn't have to travel as much and all that kind of stuff. But then I just absolutely fell in love with Scotland. Like so, I fell in love with the archaeology. It's an amazing place to live, and it was just kind of I wanted to stay. So, but my work on my master's kind of focused on early medieval Scotland specifically. Lots of stuff to do with hill forts and stuff like that. So I was doing lots of excavations. lots of geophysical stuff, drone survey, photogrammetry, 3D mapping, all that kind of stuff. And I was basically just going to leave after the year, but then my supervisor at the time asked if I wanted to stay on and do a PhD. And I obviously said yes. So I kind of stayed on, did a PhD, and yeah, just did the same exact thing, just in a way bigger range. I was like, did excavations all over Scotland. Like most of my funding came from this project called the Northern Picts Project from the University of Aberdeen, and we were able to just pay for me to go and fly a drone over hill forts and Isla and Skye and all that kind of stuff. It was, yeah, amazing. Uh, it helped me learn way more advanced geophysics kind of stuff, LiDAR, photogrammetry. I was able to use these crazy 3D laser scanner machines, which I've never heard of until a year ago. And yeah, so I mean, and then again, like I was saying, like I was doing soil flotation on the side. I was also helping out a freelance archaeologist in Aberdeen, Ali Cameron. She does a lot of Mesolithic and Neolithic sites, and she has huge lithic assemblages. So I was helping her out on the side, kind of helping her sort and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that's definitely the kind of stuff that you learn from Pine Lake and all that kind of stuff. So then, yeah, I passed my Viva, my PhD in 2023. The Viva is a harrowing experience, that's for sure. Uh, and then got my corrections and all that kind of stuff done early 2024. And now I've had my thesis approved for publication as a book, which has been a long process of like revisions and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so before I get into any more, I'll just kind of discuss a little bit about the research of what I do, kind of, or what I did my PhD on, but like not as much what I do now. So most of my work was on the Picts. So I don't know how much people know about the Picts, but they were a group of people in Northeast Scotland specifically, between about 300 AD, 900 AD. You find them basically down to, like, find kind of archaeological evidence of them from about Edinburgh up. You can find it in Orkney, Shetland, all the way out to Skye even. There's no written language at all. There's very little, there's no records at all in Scotland, and there's very little just in general. You have some records in the annals in Ireland, like the Annals of Ulster and stuff like that. And you have a few mentions from the Romans and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of would have given this kind of a derogatory sense of what the Picts were, like these kind of naked, blue painted people, which it's definitely not what they were. So yeah. But that's been changing quite a bit, uh, especially with the work that part of my PhD in the kind of University of Aberdeen have been doing. We've found numerous sites that are Pictish. So we're definitely starting to understand a little bit more about them, but it's kind of hard when you don't have written record. So really the only kind of evidence we have of the Picts are what's on the top left is the Pictish symbols. So these symbols are found on stones usually. You get them kind of standing in situ in fields. Sometimes you find them etched into stones on hills. Uh, yeah, they're found in numerous situations, but mostly just standing simple stones kind of things. You find some of them even on Neolithic standing stones that they've kind of just put the symbols on later on. So that's kind of all we have on them. We don't really know what they mean necessarily, or if they have a meaning in that sense. There, lots of the kind of things people say is that they were territorial, kind of like boundary markers. Some people think they could have been like almost like family names in a sense. And they could just be kind of landscape markers for like significant places, events, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So just kind of if you don't really, yeah, so this is early medieval Scotland. Uh, so the blue is kind of where Pictland is. This map kind of shows like there's this kind of myth about the seven kingdoms, which I don't really think is real, but that's neither here nor there. And then you have Delriata out west, which were Irish settlers that came over in the early medieval into Scotland, and then they kind of merged at a later point. And then you kind of have Anglo-Saxon, Brittonic people down south, like Ydad and Strathclyde and Greenock. There was lots of different things happening at this time. This has a lot to do with kind of the introduction of Christianity into the area. Uh, Pictland was kind of later on than most areas in the UK for, well, England and Scotland, yeah. Yeah. And then a little bit more like, so the kind of hill fort thing that I would do, I was looking at this specific type of fort called the nuclear hill fort. This was kind of this old, outdated idea. Hill forts are usually Iron Age in date, so that would be kind of like 800 BC to 100 AD, so like kind of before the Romans show up in Scotland. Uh, but there started to be kind of evidence of early medieval hill forts kind of existing, which wasn't really a thing that people thought for a while. And so the point of my PhD was to kind of look at all the hill forts in Scotland, kind of try and pinpoint where these could be. And we've kind of found this idea that it's probably on these really small little hills that kind of lend themselves to this certain kind of hierarchy in the way that they're kind of terraced and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we excavated a bunch of them. I think we did probably 8. 6 of them came back early medieval, so we've kind of got maybe I don't know. But yeah, so that was what a lot of the work was. But the biggest highlight of my career for sure is finding a Pictish stone, which is insane to even think about if you do this kind of stuff. Like me and one of the postdoc students when I was a PhD student found the first ever in situ Pictish stone on mainland Scotland, like in an excavation before. It's still one of the most insane moments of my life hitting it and then like wiping away the dirt and seeing it. But it ended up being used as an entranceway into a 10th, 11th century building. And the stone, what the symbols are showing, are a bit earlier. So they're probably 5th, 6th century. So the stone was used as an entranceway, and there was 4 stones coming off of it, like as almost like a path, which all had Bronze Age kind of cup and ring marks and like all sorts of different things. So it was a really strange kind of probably processional kind of thing into the building. And then we dug the building later that year and we found these massive kind of metalworking silver areas. We were finding lots of droplets of silver. I think we've had a couple brooch molds. So it was definitely a very significant place. And it was in that area as well. There's been numerous stones found over the years. And the good thing about the story is it was all over the place. Like it was BBC, National Geographic. We had to do interviews and all that kind of stuff. But there was also really negative things about it too, is that people finding you on Twitter, sending you really random messages about what you found and what it was a weird, weird time. But anyways, so after I was doing the PhD and all this kind of stuff, I was working at a pub in Scotland most of the time I was doing the PhD and was still doing it for a bit. But then I finally got into commercial archaeology again for a bit. I worked for a couple companies, mostly infrastructure jobs, similar to what it is in the States. Again, the first job I did were Neolithic sites, and they were all flint tools. Again, another thing that like Oniana really helped with understanding and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit different in the UK. So in the US, they kind of CRM, you kind of just walk like, so a lot of the projects I did were like pipelines per se. And you would kind of just walk and find areas to put holes in to kind of see if there's anything there. In the UK, they kind of just take an area and just kind of take off the topsoil, or like you kind of do like large machine trenching, but there's not as much like digging. It's more just like digging actual features in archaeology. So it's a bit more exciting, I guess, in that way. Because there was a lot of jobs that I did in the US in the sense of I did one in Ohio that they just dropped us off in the middle of the woods and they gave us like compasses and all this kind of stuff. And they showed us the line that we needed to go. And we had to walk 2 miles that day, dig holes where we thought we needed. And then if we finished that, that was our day. But we had to find ourselves there with a compass and kind of using our phones. So it's, yeah, there's different kind of jobs, but it's good. Yeah. But currently what I do now is a consultancy. It's mostly kind of doing desk-based assessments and planning projects for these kind of big infrastructure projects. A lot of the work I do is from home at the moment because I'm doing a lot of stuff in Ireland. Um, it's basically just kind of discussing with clients, like we kind of make this assessment, put all the archaeological sites there is, show them kind of what they need to do if it's there. They can't dig there. They can dig there, but they have to do this, all that kind of stuff. Uh, and it's weird. I never really saw myself getting into this, but I actually enjoy it. It's much more complicated than I ever thought it would be, like the whole kind of planning process. But yeah, no, it's been good. It's yeah, mostly wind, solar farms, and housing developments and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I get to travel all around the UK. Hopefully soon, Ireland and Germany, but we'll see. Yeah. And then just in conclusion, I know it's a bit short than 30 minutes, but Oneana was basically the only reason I became an archaeologist. It was never a thing I saw myself doing really until I started taking those classes and then the field school. The field school was great hands-on experience, especially if you want to go into archaeology, especially something like CRM. Uh, Lots of the people that I've worked with over the years did like early on in their career would go to field schools in like Italy and Greece, which is great. Like it's probably fun and all that kind of stuff. But if you're really trying to like straight go into the field and start working, the Pine Lake is perfect for it because you're learning the stuff that you will be digging in the field, and it definitely gives you kind of a leg up in that sense. And yeah, just the department staff at the field school really just helped me find my love for archaeology. And it's kind of crazy. It's been 10 years, and it's crazy that I'm still doing archaeology. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good. So I don't do you guys have any questions for Zach? I've got a bunch, but I don't want to. Go ahead. Do you want to turn on your mic?
Yeah, sure. How do I do that? Hello, how's it going?
Good.
Let's say your name and your class year, or maybe, I don't know if your major is in college.
Yeah, sure. I'm Aiden. I'm a senior this year, and my major is sociology, but I just picked up a minor in anthropology.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a quick question on the picks.
Yeah.
That was what your PhD was about?
Yeah. Yeah. I PhD and masters. Yeah. Yeah.
And you said there's not much known about them, right?
Yeah, there's really very little. We don't know if they had a language. I mean, they probably did, but we have no written ideas of it. Yeah. So
Okay. And then those hill things, that's theirs, like that's where they lived.
so some of them, so we do have like lowland areas, kind of like roundhouses. Like there's lots of places where we see that. But there's these kind of like weird little outcrop hills, very rocky usually, that they were living in. We don't know if it was like year round. Some of them were probably not the best place to be in the winter and all that kind of stuff. But there was, yeah, it seems like they were living there. Yeah. Like we found lots of evidence of like animal bones. So they were eating up there. There was metalworking. There was also all sorts of stuff happened up there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I was just wondering too, do you think they'll ever find like more stuff about them, or is it kind of like just like lost? Like we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the fact that we found a stone a couple years ago, like they start kind of popping up here and there. I mean, it would be amazing if we could find like a Rosetta Stone of the Pictish language, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, but yeah, yeah. Hopefully, there seems to be more of an interest in the Picts, which is good recently. So, hopefully, we'll say. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other questions? I was gonna ask you, Zach, so transitioning between doing cultural resource management in the US versus the UK, you mentioned, how different the approaches were. Yeah, in the US, they'll just hand you a compass and
Yeah.
shove you to the woods and be like, good luck, you know, hopefully you come back.
Yeah.
But, would it be hard? So say if you didn't do graduate work over there and you were just trying to break into CRM over there, would it be hard to do?
If you just were coming from the, like, if you
Yeah.
got a job or if you're, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Actually, I think CRM in the States is much harder, to be honest, because there was way more of the aspect of having to find stuff, like in that sense. Like you would just dig like little radials kind of things, like, you know, like little whole test bits, yeah, to get from here. They kind of just like, you just get a machine to put this huge 50-meter by 5-meter trench. And then you kind of just look at the ground in the natural and be like, there's something there, there's something there. And you just dig it. So it's a bit,
Yeah, that does sound a lot easier.
yeah, it's a bit easier.
Here, we'll do all the hard work for you and you can just dig the
Yeah.
feature. Sounds awesome. We should
Yeah.
do that at Pine Lake.
Yeah.
So what do you, for these guys, because I know some students are contemplating graduate school at some point.
Mhm.
What advice would you give, or what were some of the differences between, you know, I know you didn't go to grad school here, but like the differences between like school system, college systems here and over there, and as far as an American going there to grad school, what was that process like?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a bit. It's things work a little bit differently, obviously here. It there's they expect you to know a lot, like to begin with. Kind of, I was kind of when I started the masters, I was a bit shocked by how much I needed to know already. Like they don't like because you're doing stuff about like say like the department focuses a lot on Vikings and the Picts and like kind of early medieval stuff. They kind of expected you to know everything about all that stuff already. So that was a bit, I was like, okay, I need to read quite a bit kind of stuff. But I, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would be so much different than it is in the States. I, yeah, I don't know. I have to think about that one for a second, actually. Yeah, like,
Other questions? Can you see everybody?
so we're not.
Oh, go ahead. Turn on your mic. Do you know how to, it's the button on the top to slide it. Yeah.
And if you want to introduce yourself, you could.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm a dual major in anthropology and international studies, and I'm a junior. I had a question because you mentioned about your thesis being approved. Is
Yeah.
your book published already, or is it still in the works of being like, sorry, I don't know how thesis works, but it comes to publishing, it's like being approved in the process of that. So
Yeah. So
it's-
yeah, so so it's the same kind of in the US. I think they call it a defense instead. You do a viva, so you have to sit. Once you hand it in, you have to get an internal examiner from the university, usually in the department, and then an external examiner who's usually like kind of an expert in the field, and you just sit in a room with them, and they kind of grill you for like 3 hours and kind of tell you if you passed or if you didn't pass. So you usually, yeah, if you do pass, you usually get kind of a minor corrections or major corrections. And that just kind of matters how much time you have to fix things up. So I finished mine about 3 months. And then that was it. The university just put it kind of in the library. But then I personally went to a couple publishing companies and sent them copies of it to see if anybody wanted to publish it. And then one did, and then they had reviewers and they accepted it. I'm still doing the revisions. They want to change a few things here and there. But no, so it's not published yet, but it should be hopefully mid next year, I hope, if I can get it done, but we'll see.
Thank you.
I have a question, if you can hear me. This is Ian O'Brien.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a paleoecologist, and the first thing I'm thinking about is, yeah, what your evidence is from your work or prior work about subsistence economy of the Picts, especially relative to other peoples in like equally harsh terrain of Northern Europe, of whether they were just really going in on rye and barley, or like what their main what they were eating. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a girl that I'm good friends with that was doing similar stuff. She was looking at like diatoms and all that kind of stuff to kind of see what they were doing in kind of like pots and stuff like that. Uh, it was lots of like rye and barley. There's quite a few different cereals as well. I don't know as much about the kind of ecology stuff, but I know there's been lots of different animals that have been being found recently. Like there's been lots of like swans and foxes found in these like really high status areas. You can't really tell if they've been eating them or not, or if they were for other purposes. The issue with a lot of the stuff in northern Scotland is the soil is so acidic that it just like does not survive. Like I mean, it's very difficult. Like even things like textiles, I think there's like two examples of Pictish textiles because they just all go away. Uh, it's my partner actually does ancient DNA, and she's been doing sedimentary ancient DNA, and they've been finding kind of specific things in the soil that are quite interesting, but I can't. She hasn't published it yet, so I can't say.
Yeah, thank you. I was just, especially when you showed the symbols, and it's basically all the wildlife of the northern UK.
It's a bit
What if this is food and friend and yeah. So
yeah. Well, there was like this whole thing for a while that they didn't think the Picts ate fish, which I thought was insane because I mean it's mostly just on the coast, and there was like always people talking about how it was like maybe like a religious thing or like a thing that they didn't do. But now that people have been like actually doing kind of isotopes and like ancient DNA, we've been finding lots of evidence of fish. So, but it's interesting because the fish symbol stones, the stones that have fish on them, are always found inland and they're not on the coast. So it's always this weird kind of thing of like, why? Like it's just kind of, I don't know, like, yeah, maybe spawning rivers or something, then coming up. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maggie had a question. Can you reach the mic?
Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm a sophomore anthropology major with Chem minor. So when you are talking about the acidity of the soil in Scotland, how would you compare that to the soils of like central to upstate New York?
Much more acidic. Yeah, it's a there's I don't it's just like I don't know actually what it is. I mean, you have lots of areas that are like peat as well, so that's different. Like the peat kind of keeps things for a while, but it's just nothing survives in it. Again, I'm not really a soil scientist in any way, so I don't know the specifics of it. It's very silty, uh, and it can be very clayey as well. It's very just yeah, it's much more acidic than upstate New York, that's for sure. Because you can, but yeah, I'm not an expert in that. I apologize.
So like due to that, have you been able to find anything regarding like human burials, or has it just been more animal remains?
Yeah, so there are human remains that have been found. Most of the time, it's not fully like articulated or anything. We've done a couple barrow sites up north, kind of near Inverness, and we basically it's really sandy up there as well. So it's basically just getting it. It was body stains, that kind of stuff. Sometimes little pieces of the skull. Uh, but then you do have other areas that you get perfect ones, like if it's in a kist, something like that, like a kind of stone burial. You get some bodies still remaining. Yeah. But again, it's mostly just body stains and it's kind of just understanding what they look like and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that, if the burial treatments, if they bury in the stone cairns like some other places that might have better preservation or.
Yeah, so you do see a lot of kiss burials. You also get lots of square barrows as well. So like they kind of make that like little kind of bank around them. Yeah. Uh, there's also this again. There's like very few sites, but they're showing evidence of like Bronze Age burial sites and Bronze Age kists being robbed and putting Pictish people in them as well. So there's lots of yeah. So there could be this kind of like a I don't know kind of connection to the past kind of thing. Like yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's interesting. Other questions?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Austin Partridge. I'm a freshman, a major in anthropology. I know a little bit about the Picts, but so obviously you kind of alluded to it with the migration of Gales into Del Riata. Have you come across evidence of, obviously the Picts disappear at a certain point, and it could be, I'm sure, very frustrating considering there are people without a written language or records of how they disappeared, but have you come across evidence of either conquest of the Gales over the Picts, or would you think that they're more of just incorporated? Is there any like genetic distinction between the two groups?
Yeah, so people have been doing like isotope analysis, and you can kind of, there's been, again, recent work that I can't get too deep into, but there is evidence of human remains that have been found that have kind of Irish, Western Scottish, well, more Irish kind of markers than they do kind of Pictish markers. Yeah, so there's not like a lot of it. What happened, it was like about 900 AD around the Picts and Del Riata, the Scots, merged together to create Alba, is what they say. There is records of that. It's nobody's really sure if one did one to the other, or if they kind of just coalesced. A lot of people think it was especially around that time that you started having more Anglo-Saxon or Bernician kind of push into Scotland. So, and then you had like the Norse Gaels coming over the west. That could have been kind of a way of conglomerating and fighting against it and keeping together. I'm not sure because you still get place name evidence in Northeast Scotland that is Pictish. We have ideas of kind of, so like Aberdeen in itself, like Aber, is like a Pictish prefix, or like Inverness, like Inver, is Pictish as well. So the names still survived to an extent. So I'm not sure. Yeah, like it's difficult to tell, but it seems more they kind of just became one at some point. Yeah, but why? I don't know.
Any other questions? So any parting words, Zach? So as far as encouragement for students?
Yeah, I mean, it's archaeology's never, it's not the easiest career path, but it's very fulfilling. It's amazing. You get to see and do things that I never thought I would be able to do. I never thought I would be living in Scotland for 8 years. I never thought I'd be able to dig and do the things that I wanted to do. It's definitely, you need to really love what you're doing to do this kind of thing, I think is the best way to put it. But I recommend it to anybody. Yeah. So.
And I think you're a great example of, you were willing to try things that you didn't, weren't really sure where they were going to take you. And, but you just kind of went with it. And I think sometimes, that's a great example to have, because people are sort of so cautious about things, or they think that, well, this has been the path that people have always taken, so I should just do this thing, or, I should just do that thing. But I think you're a great example to follow your passion, and, just trust in the process, I think is a big part of it.
You just kind of have to go with it sometimes. That's basically it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, because you never knew when you did the field school that counting all that debitage
would actually really help. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Actually,
yeah.
Right, or sitting on the back porch when it's raining out with your hand in a bucket of water, stirring up the dirt in our very low tech flotation system, that you'd actually end up being employed doing that,
I know, it is insane,
So,
actually, thinking about that. Yeah.
So hopefully, I'm really glad that you all were here today, and there's many takeaways, but I think that's one of the big ones. But thank you, Zach, so much for taking time out of your day, coming to us all the way from Scotland. We feel like we're with you because it's raining in Oneonta today. Go ahead. You have one more question?
What time?
Well, what time is it there?
It is 9:45 right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so not too bad. Zach was telling us before everybody came in that their clocks changed this past week and ours are changing this week, so they'll be a little bit further off, but at least for this, you're not, up until midnight talking to us, so.
No, I mean, we're at the time of the year that the sun goes down at 4 p.m. anyways, so
Ah.
it's quite miserable in that sense. So it doesn't really matter.
Great. Well, thank you all very much. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming. Thank you, Zach, so much. And it was good to see you. All right,
Cheers.
stay-
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.